The milk hit him first. Cold, sharp, it spread across his tray, dripping onto his lap. Laughter followed. Not loud, controlled, like they were trying not to get caught. Ethan froze. His fingers tightened around the plastic fork. "Oops," a boy said. No apology, just a smirk. Ethan looked up slowly. 3 boys stood there. Same ones from yesterday. One leaned closer. "You gonna cry again?" "I didn't cry," Ethan said. His voice was quiet. Too quiet. The boy tilted his head. "Say that again." Silence stretched. The cafeteria noise faded into a blur. Ethan felt every eye near him, watching, waiting. "I said, I didn't cry." The boy laughed, then pushed the tray. Hard. It crashed to the floor. Milk splashed. Food scattered. More laughter. "Clumsy," another boy said. Ethan stood up. Slow. Careful. Like one wrong move could make it worse. "Pick it up," the first boy said. Ethan didn't move. "Pick it up." A teacher glanced over, then looked away. That hurt more than the milk. Ethan bent down, hands shaking. He started picking up the mess. Behind him, a whisper. People like him should be grateful they're even here. Ethan stopped, just for a second, then kept cleaning, because something inside him was starting to change. And this time, he wasn't going to stay silent. Ethan sat at the edge of the cafeteria. Same seat, same corner. Every day, he kept his head down, opened his lunch slowly. Like movement could attract attention. "Why does he sit like that?" The voice came from behind. Not loud, just enough. Ethan didn't turn. "He thinks he's invisible," another voice said. Soft laughter. Ethan picked up his sandwich, took a bite, chewed slowly, pretending not to hear, because pretending felt safer. "Hey!" The word landed sharp, right next to him. Ethan looked up. The same 3 boys, standing too close, blocking the light. "Move your bag," one said. "There's space," Ethan replied quietly. "There's not." A foot nudged his backpack, harder than needed. It slid off the bench, hit the floor. No one reacted, except them. They smiled. Ethan bent down, picked it up, placed it back. Careful, always careful. "You talk funny." Ethan froze. "I don't," he said. "You do," the boy insisted, mocking now, dragging out words. "Say something again." Ethan stayed silent. "Yeah," another boy laughed. "Thought so." They walked away, but not far, never far. In class, it didn't stop. It just changed shape. "Ethan, can you read the next line?" the teacher asked. He nodded, started reading. Slow, clear, a voice cut in. "Why does he sound like that?" "Snickers." The teacher paused, just for a second. Then, "Let's stay focused," she said. Not angry, not firm, just neutral. Ethan kept reading, but the words felt heavier now, like they didn't belong to him anymore. After class. "Hey!" Again, always the same word. Always them. "Read that part again," one said. Ethan kept walking. A hand grabbed his shoulder. Not hard, but enough. "I said read it again." Ethan turned slowly. "No." The word surprised even him. The boys looked at each other, then laughed. Did he just say no? Guess he's getting brave. Ethan pulled his shoulder free. Walked faster. Heart pounding. Not from fear. Not this time. Something else. Something new. At his locker. He stopped. Door slightly open. He didn't remember leaving it like that. His stomach tightened. Slowly, he opened it. Inside, books were there, but not the same. Pages bent. Notebook torn. His pencil case missing. A sticky note sat in the middle. Bright. Loud. He stared at it. Didn't want to read it, but couldn't look away. "Go back to where you came from." His chest felt tight, like the air had changed, like the hallway had shrunk. Footsteps passed behind him. Voices. Normal. Everything normal. Except this. Except him. "You okay?" Ethan turned. A girl stood a few lockers away, watching, not smiling, not laughing, just watching. "I'm fine," he said. Too fast. She didn't move. You don't look fine. I said I am. Silence. She hesitated. Then, people see it, you know. Ethan frowned. See what? She glanced down the hallway, lowered her voice. What they're doing. Ethan's grip tightened on the locker door. Then why doesn't anyone say anything? The girl didn't answer, because they both knew. Later, Ethan sat in class again, notebook open, torn page staring back at him. The teacher wrote on the board, explaining something. Ethan wasn't listening. He was thinking, replaying everything. The voices, the laughter, the note, the silence, especially the silence. A paper ball hit his desk. He didn't react. Another one, then a whisper. Open it. Slowly, Ethan unfolded the paper. 3 words. We're not done. He looked up. Across the room, they were watching, smiling, waiting, not hiding anymore, not even pretending. And that's when Ethan realized something. This wasn't random. This wasn't teasing. This wasn't a stop. They had chosen him, on purpose, and no one was going to help. Ethan folded the paper, carefully, placed it inside his notebook. His hand stopped shaking. His breathing slowed. Something inside him shifted. Quiet, but real. If no one was going to say anything, then maybe he would. Ethan didn't rush to class anymore. He walked slower now, not because he wanted to, because he was watching, listening, learning. Same time today, a voice echoed from around the corner. Ethan stopped, just before turning. Yeah, cafeteria again, another voice replied. Laughter, low, planned. Ethan didn't move. His fingers tightened around his notebook. Then he kept walking, like he hadn't heard anything. But he had, every word. In class, he sat down, same seat, but something was different. He didn't open his notebook right away. He looked around. People were watching, not all, but enough. Quick glances, then looking away, like they didn't want to get involved, like they already knew. Ethan, he looked up. Miss Carter, you didn't finish yesterday's assignment. I did, he said. She frowned. It wasn't turned in. Ethan blinked. I put on your desk. A pause, short, but heavy. Well, it's not here, she said. A few students shifted in their seats. Ethan felt again. That pressure, that quiet doubt. Maybe you forgot, she added. I didn't. His voice was calm, but firmer now. Miss Carter sighed. Just redo it. Just like that. No questions. No checking. Decision made. Ethan nodded slowly. But inside, something didn't sit right. At lunch, he saw them before they saw him. Same table. Same smirks. Waiting. Ethan stopped. For a second. Then turned. Walked the other way. New table. Different corner. He sat down. Alone again. But this time, it felt like a choice. You moved. Ethan looked up. The same girl from yesterday. She stood across from him, tray in hand. I guess, Ethan said. She sat down, uninvited, but not unwelcome. They don't like that, she said quietly. Who? She gave him a look. You know who. Ethan looked back at his food. They don't like anything I do. A pause. Then, why don't you tell someone? She asked. Ethan let out a small breath. I tried. No, I mean really tell someone. Ethan looked up. What does that even mean? It means not stopping at I'm fine. Silence. Ethan didn't answer, because part of him knew. She was right. A shadow fell over the table. Look who found a friend. Ethan didn't look up. The girl did. What do you want? She asked. The boy smiled. Nothing. Just checking in. His eyes shifted to Ethan. You switching tables now? Ethan stayed quiet. Doesn't matter where you sit, another boy added. We'll find you. The girl leaned forward. Just leave him alone. The first boy laughed. Or what? She didn't answer, because she didn't have one. Careful, the boy said softly. Don't get involved in things that don't concern you. That wasn't a joke. That was a warning. The girl's grip tightened on her fork, but she didn't speak. The boy smiled again, then walked away. You see, Ethan said quietly. She nodded. Yeah, That's why no one says anything. Another pause. He added, "They're not scared of me." He looked up. "They're scared of them." After lunch, Ethan opened his locker. Slower this time. Careful. Inside, everything looked normal. Too normal. He reached for his notebook. Stopped. Something fell off. He flipped it open. Pages missing. Not torn this time. Gone. Clean. Precise. Like someone had taken their time. Looking for something? Ethan turned. They were there. Of course they were. One of them held something in his hand. Folded pages. Ethan's pages. "Give it back," Ethan said. The boy tilted his head. "Say please." Ethan didn't move. Didn't speak. The boy smiled. Then he ripped one page in half. Slow. Deliberate. Pieces falling to floor. Ethan felt it. That same tightness in his chest. But stronger now. Hotter. "Stop," Ethan said. The word came out sharper than before. The boys paused. Just for a second. Then another page ripped. "Stop." Louder now. Heads turned in the hallway. People watching. Again. Always watching. "What's going on here?" A teacher's voice. "Close." Too late. The boys stepped back instantly. Relaxed. Innocent. "Nothing," one said. Ethan looked at the torn pages on the floor. Then at the teacher. "They took my—" "Then pick it up and get to class," the teacher interrupted. "No questions. No investigation. Just dismissal." Ethan bent down. Again. Same position. Same feeling. Picking up pieces. While everyone else walked past. Like it didn't matter. Like he didn't matter. As he stood up, he heard it. A whisper. "Close." Right behind him. "Tomorrow's going to be better." Ethan froze. Not because it sounded kind, but because of the tone. Mocking. Certain. "How?" Ethan asked quietly. The boy leaned in, so only Ethan could hear. "We're going to make sure everyone sees you." A pause. Then, "For real this time." The boys walked away, laughing again, but softer, more controlled, because they knew something Ethan didn't. Yet, Ethan stood still, pages in his hands. Heart steady now, not racing anymore. That scared him more. Across the hallway, the girl was watching, phone in her hand, not raised, not recording, just holding it, like she was thinking. Ethan looked back at the torn pages, then down the empty hallway ahead, then back at them, disappearing around the corner. "They're planning something," he said. The girl nodded slowly. "Yeah." Ethan swallowed. "What do I do?" She didn't answer right away, because the truth was simple and heavy. You decide if you stay quiet. She looked at him, or if you make them stop. Silence stretched between them, not empty, full. Ethan looked down at his hands, at the torn pieces, at the words that used to be whole. Then he did something small, but different. He didn't throw them away. He folded them, carefully, and put them in his bag, because now this wasn't just happening to him. This was becoming something else, something bigger. And for the first time, Ethan wasn't just afraid of what they might do. He was thinking about what he might do back. The classroom felt different that morning. Too quiet, not peaceful, prepared. Ethan noticed at the moment he walked in. Whispers stopped. Eyes shifted. Then, normal again. Too normal. He sat down slowly, placed his bag under the desk. This time, he didn't let it out of reach. "You ready?" A voice behind him. Low, barely there. Ethan didn't turn. "I don't know what you're talking about." A soft laugh. "You will." The bell rang. Class started, but Ethan couldn't focus. He kept scanning the room. Something was off. Not loud, not obvious, but building. Miss Carter wrote on the board, "Today we're doing presentations." Ethan froze. He hadn't heard about that. "What presentations?" someone asked. "The ones assigned last week," she said. A pause. Ethan's stomach dropped. "I didn't," he started. "You did," she cut in gently. They were handed out. Murmurs filled the room. Ethan looked around. No one looked back. "Ethan, you're third," she said. "Third. Too soon. Too fast. Miss Carter, I didn't get—" "We'll talk after class," she replied. Dismissive. Quick. Final. A boy in the back raised his hand. Can he just skip? He probably doesn't understand the topic. Laughter. Soft. Controlled. Miss Carter didn't laugh. But she didn't shut it down either. Let's stay respectful, she said. But her voice lacked weight. The first student went up. Then the second. Ethan's heart started to pound. Not from fear alone. From realization. This wasn't random. This was planned. Ethan, Miss Carter said. Your turn. Silence. All eyes on him. Waiting. I didn't prepare anything, Ethan said. His voice was steady, but tight. You were expected to, she replied. A pause. You can at least try. From the side, a voice. Yeah, just try. Snickering followed. Ethan stood up slowly, walked to the front. Every step felt heavier, longer. He turned to face the class. Empty hands. No notes. Nothing. What's your topic? Miss Carter asked. Ethan hesitated. I don't know. More laughter. This time louder, less controlled. Maybe we should help him, one boy said. The same one. Always the same one. He stood up, walked forward, holding something. Ethan's notebook. Found this, the boy said, flipping it open. Ethan's chest tightened. No. Let's see what he does know, the boy continued, ignoring him. Give it back, Ethan said. Louder now. A few students shifted. Uncomfortable, but no one spoke. The boy raised his voice, reading, mocking, dragging out every word, turning thoughts into jokes. Ethan stepped forward. Stop. But the boy kept reading, laughing between lines, adding comments, twisting meaning. Wow, this is deep, he said sarcastically. Did you write this in your home country? The room reacted. Some laughed, some looked away, some froze. Miss Carter stepped forward. All right, that's enough. But it wasn't firm, not fast enough. The damage was already done. Ethan grabbed the notebook, pulled it back, hard. The pages bent, crinkled, but he didn't care. Don't touch my stuff, he said. The room went quiet. The boy raised his hands. Relax. Just helping. Helping. The word echoed wrong. Ethan stood there, breathing heavier now, eyes scanning the room, looking for anything, anyone. That's when he saw her, the girl, near the back, phone in her hand, raised slightly, recording. Ethan froze, just for a second. Was that good or worse? The boy noticed too. Yo, you filming this? The girl lowered the phone slightly. Why? He asked. His tone changed, sharper. No reason, she said. Too quick. Delete it. The room shifted again. Different tension now. Miss Carter stepped in. Phone's away. Still not strong enough. Still not control. The boy stepped closer to the girl. Delete it, he repeated. Lower. More dangerous. Ethan moved, without thinking. Leave her alone. The words landed harder than before. Now everyone was watching him. Not laughing. Not whispering. Watching. The boy turned slowly. Smiled, but his eyes didn't. You really don't know when to stop, do you? Ethan didn't answer. Didn't move. Because now, this wasn't just about him anymore. The boy stepped closer. Close enough to feel his breath. You just made this worse. A pause. Heavy. Then he leaned in and whispered, so only Ethan could hear. After school. Ethan's chest tightened. The boy stepped back, smiling again, like nothing happened. Class is getting interesting, he said. Laughter returned, but different now. Nervous, uneven. Miss Carter cleared her throat. Everyone sit down. But no one was really listening. Ethan walked back to his seat, slow, controlled. He didn't look at anyone, not even the girl, but he felt it. Everything had changed. Before, it was humiliation. Now, it was escalation. And whatever was coming next, it wasn't staying inside the classroom. Words. The final bell rang. Sharp, loud. But Ethan didn't move. Students rushed out. Chairs scraped. Voices returned. Normal again. Like nothing had happened. Ethan stayed seated, hands on his desk. still, thinking. Hey! Soft. Close. He looked up. The girl. She hesitated. You shouldn't go alone, she said. Ethan blinked. What? After school, she added. Her voice dropped. I heard what he said. Ethan looked away. I'll be fine. You don't know that. Silence. Heavy. They're not joking anymore, she said. I know. Then don't go. Ethan shook his head. I can't just hide. That's not hiding, she said quickly. That's being smart. Ethan stood up, picked up his bag. Careful. Always careful. If I don't go, he said quietly, they'll just do it again tomorrow. The girl didn't answer, because she knew he was right. Then I'm coming with you, she said. Ethan paused, looked at her. Why? She held his gaze. Because someone has to. A moment passed, short but real. Ethan nodded. Okay. Outside, the air felt colder. Even though the sun was still out, the parking lot was half empty. Buses leaving, cars pulling away, noise fading. Too quiet. Ethan scanned the area. Nothing. No sign of them. Maybe they left, the girl said. Ethan didn't respond. Something didn't feel right. Then, a voice from behind. Thought you might run. Ethan turned. They were there, near the fence. 3 of them, waiting. Of course they were. You brought backup? One of them said, looking at the girl, mocking. She's not backup, Ethan said. The boy smiled. Doesn't matter. They stepped closer, slow, confident. No teachers now. Another added, no one to pretend in front of. The space between them closed. Too fast. What do you want? Ethan asked. The first boy shrugged. Nothing big. A pause. Just want you to understand something. Ethan didn't move, didn't speak. You don't belong here, the boy said. Simple, flat. The words landed heavier than anything before. This isn't your place, another added. The girl stepped forward. Stop. All 3 looked at her. You really want to do this? One asked. She didn't step back. Yeah. A small laugh. Then watch. Before Ethan could react, a hand shoved him. Hard. He stumbled back, hit the fence. Metal rattled behind him. Don't touch him, the girl shouted. Relax, the boy said. Just talking. Another shove. Stronger. Ethan felt it now. Not just pressure. Not just humiliation. This was different. You gonna do something? The boy asked, stepping closer. Ethan's hands clenched. Or are you just gonna stand there again? The words echoed. Again. Again. Something snapped. Not loud. Not explosive. Quiet. Deep. Stop. The word came out steady. Different. The boys paused. Ethan pushed himself off the fence. Stood straight. No more, he said. A beat. Then laughter. Or what? The first boy asked. Ethan didn't answer right away. Because for the first time, he wasn't reacting. He was choosing. I'm done letting you do this, he said. The boys stepped closer. Chest to chest now. You don't decide that. Ethan held his ground. Yeah, he said quietly. I do. That changed something. Not everything, but enough. The boy's smile faded slightly. You think you're tough now? Ethan shook his head. No. A pause. I think I'm done being quiet. Silence. Even the air felt still. The girl slowly reached into her pocket, pulled out her phone, raised it, recording. The boys noticed. Again. Put that down. One snapped. She didn't move. Delete it. Another said. Still nothing. Ethan stepped slightly in front of her. You heard her, the boy said. Ethan shook his head. No. That word again. Stronger this time. The boy's expression shifted. Now it wasn't just control. It was anger. Move, he said. Ethan didn't. Move. Still nothing. A step forward. Closer. Then sirens. Distant, but getting louder. Everyone froze. What? The sound cut through everything. A police car turned into the street. Lights flashing. The boys stepped back instantly. Different posture now. Different faces. Like a switch flipped. What's going on here? A voice called out. The officer stepped out. Tall, broad, scanning. His eyes landed on Ethan first. Not the group, not the situation. Ethan, problem? The officer asked. No one spoke. The boy smiled slightly. Nothing, sir, he said. The officer nodded slowly, then looked at Ethan again, longer this time. You sure about that? The question didn't feel neutral. It felt loaded. Ethan hesitated. The girl lowered her phone slightly. The boys stayed quiet, waiting, and suddenly the situation shifted again, because now this wasn't just about them. This was something else, something bigger, and Ethan could feel it. Whatever he said next would change everything. The siren stopped, but the tension didn't. The officer stepped closer, slow, measured. You, he said, looking directly at Ethan. What's going on here? Ethan opened his mouth, then stopped, because the question didn't feel like help. It felt like pressure. Nothing, sir, the boy repeated. Calm, polite. The officer gave a small nod. Like that answer made sense. Ethan felt it, that shift again. You sure? The officer asked, still looking at Ethan. Not them. Ethan glanced at the girl. Her phone was still in her hand. Lower now, but not gone. Answer him. One of the boys muttered under his breath. Ethan looked back at the officer, took a breath. They pushed me, he said. Silence. The officer's expression didn't change. Did they? He asked. The tone was flat, but something inside it. Questioned, doubted. Ethan nodded. Yes. The officer turned slightly, finally looking at the others. Is that true? A pause. Short, controlled. No, sir. The first boy said. He slipped? Yeah. Another added, backed into the fence. The officer looked between them, then back at Ethan. You slipped? He asked. Ethan's jaw tightened. No. Another pause. The officer sighed, not annoyed at them. At him. Listen, he said. You can't just make accusations. Ethan blinked. I'm not. You said they pushed you. They did. The officer shook his head slightly. I've got 3 students saying otherwise. The words landed heavy. 3 voices. Against one. The girl stepped forward. They're lying. The officer looked at her. Sharp. You were there? She nodded. Yes. Then why didn't you say something earlier? She hesitated. Just for a second. That's what I thought, the officer said. Ethan felt again. That same pattern. Dismiss. Deflect. Decide. I recorded it. The girl said suddenly. Everything stopped. The boys turned. Fast. What? One snapped. The officer's eyes narrowed. You recorded this? She nodded. Slow. Careful. Let me see. She didn't move right away. Now, the officer added. She handed him the phone. The boys shifted. Uneasy now, Ethan watched. Heart steady. Not racing anymore. Because this was different. The officer pressed play. Silence filled the space. Voices came through. Clear. Sharp. Don't touch him. Relax. Just talking. The shove. The impact. The words. The truth. The officer's face changed. Slightly, but not enough. He handed the phone back. All right, he said. A pause. Looks like things got out of hand. Ethan frowned. Out of hand? That's it, the girl asked. The officer looked at her. What do you want me to do? They pushed him, she said. They're kids, he replied. So, is he? Silence. The officer exhaled slowly. Everyone just go home, he said. That was it. No consequences. No report. No accountability. Just end it. Ethan felt something shift again. Not outside. Inside. Because now he understood. It wasn't just them. It was bigger. Systematic. Quiet. Hidden behind calm voices and simple decisions. Sir, Ethan said. The officer looked at him. Yes. Ethan held his gaze. They said I don't belong here. A pause. The officer shrugged slightly. Kids say things. That was the answer. Simple. Dismissive. Final. Ethan nodded slowly. Okay. The officer studied him for a second, then turned away. Go home, he repeated. The boys smirked. Subtle, controlled. They knew nothing was going to happen. They started walking off. See you tomorrow, one of them said quietly. Not a threat, not loud, certain. Ethan didn't respond. He just stood there, watching them leave. The girl stepped beside him. I'm sorry, she said. Ethan shook his head. No. A pause. Now I get it. She looked at him. Get what? Ethan glanced toward the officer's car, then back at the empty street. They're not scared, he said. Of what? Ethan's voice dropped. Of anything. Silence. Because that was the truth. The system didn't stop them. It protected them. In small ways. Quiet ways. Ways no one questioned. Ethan reached into his bag, pulled out his torn pages, looked at them, then folded them again. Carefully, the girl watched. What are you doing? She asked. Ethan slid them back into his bag, not waiting anymore. A pause. For what? Ethan looked at her. For someone else to fix it. Something in his eyes had changed. Not fear, not anger. Focus. Control. They want me quiet, he said. The girl nodded slowly. Yeah. Ethan adjusted his bag. Then I'm going to make sure they're heard. She frowned slightly. What does that mean? Ethan didn't answer right away, because he was still figuring it out. But one thing was clear. This wasn't just happening anymore. Now, he was paying attention. Every word, every move, every moment. And this time, nothing was going to be missed. The next morning felt heavier. Not louder, not more chaotic, just different. Ethan walked through the hallway. Same lockers, same voices, same people. But now, they were watching. Not openly, not all at once. Quick glances, whispers that stopped when he passed. Eyes that didn't meet his. They knew, or at least, they knew something had happened. Ethan kept walking, back straight, step steady. He reached his locker, paused, then opened it. Everything was there, untouched, too clean. Ethan! He turned. Miss Carter stood behind him. Come with me, she said. Her voice was calm, but something underneath it, tense. Ethan nodded, closed his locker. The girl stood a few feet away, watching. Ethan met her eyes briefly. She gave a small nod. Then he followed. The hallway felt longer now. They didn't go to class. They turned, down a quieter corridor. Office. Ethan stopped, just for a second. Is there a problem? He asked. Miss Carter didn't answer right away. Just come in, she said. Inside, Principal Harris sat behind his desk. And someone else. The officer. Same one. Ethan felt it instantly. That same pressure. Sit down, the principal said. Ethan sat. Slow. Careful. Miss Carter closed the door. Click. Too loud. Ethan. Principal Harris began. We received reports about an incident yesterday. Ethan nodded. Yes. The officer leaned back in his chair, watching. Several students said you were involved in a confrontation. The principal continued. Involved? Ethan repeated. The principal folded his hands. Yes. Ethan glanced at the officer, then back. They pushed me, he said. A pause. The principal nodded slowly. That's one version. Ethan blinked. One version. We're trying to understand the full situation, he said. The officer spoke. Things escalated, he added. Escalated. Ethan felt it. That word again. Shift the blame. Soften the truth. They started it, Ethan said. The officer raised an eyebrow. Did they? Ethan stared at him. Yes. A silence followed. Then Miss Carter spoke. Ethan! Some students said you were being aggressive. The word hit harder than anything else. Aggressive, he repeated. Yes, she said gently. Gently, always gently. I didn't touch anyone, Ethan said. The officer leaned forward. But you raised your voice. Ethan hesitated. I told them to stop. That can be seen as escalation, the officer replied. Ethan stared at him. So I'm supposed to just let it happen? No one answered, because the answer was already clear. The principal cleared his throat. We're not saying you're at fault, he said. But you need to understand how situations can be perceived. Perceived. Ethan let out a slow breath. They pushed me, he said again. The principal nodded. And we'll look into that. Another pause. But we also have to address your behavior. There it was. The shift. Complete now. What behavior? Ethan asked. The officer spoke. You made accusations. They're not accusations. You challenged authority, he added. Ethan frowned. I answered your question. The officer's eyes narrowed slightly. It's about how you answer. Silence. Because now, this wasn't about truth. This was about control. The door opened suddenly. The girl stepped in. I have the video, she said. Everyone turned. Miss Carter frowned. You can't just... It shows everything, she continued. She walked forward. Place her phone on the desk. Play it, she said. The principal hesitated. Then press play. The room filled with sound. The shove. The voices. The threat. Clear. Undeniable. Ethan didn't look at anyone. He didn't need to. The truth was right there. When it ended, silence. Longer this time. Heavier. The principal leaned back. The officer crossed his arms. Different posture now. Different tone. All right, the principal said slowly. That changes things. Ethan looked up. Finally. So, he asked. The principal exhaled. We'll be speaking to the other students. And Ethan pressed. A pause. There will be consequences. Vague. Careful. Not enough. The officer stood up. Next time, he said, try to de-escalate. Ethan stared at him. They were the ones. Just some advice. The officer cut in. Advice. Ethan didn't respond, because now he understood something clearly. Even when you're right, you can still be treated like the problem. The officer walked out. Miss Carter looked uneasy. The principal avoided eye contact. The girl stood beside Ethan, silent, but present. That mattered. We'll handle it from here, the principal said. Ethan stood, slow. Will you? He asked. The principal looked up. A pause. Then, yes. Ethan held his gaze. For a second longer than comfortable. Then turned. Walked out. The hallway felt different again. Not safer. Not yet, but clearer. Because now, everything was out in the open. Not just what they did, but how the system worked. And how it didn't. The girl caught up beside him. You okay? She asked. Ethan nodded slightly. Yeah. A pause. Then, now they know. She looked at him. Is that enough? Ethan didn't answer right away. Because deep down, he knew this wasn't over. Not even close. They're not done, he said quietly. The girl glanced down the hallway. Neither were they. And whatever came next was going to be bigger than before. By lunchtime, everyone knew, not the full story, not the truth, but enough. Ethan felt at the moment he stepped into the cafeteria. The noise didn't drop. It changed. Whispers moved faster than voices. That's him. The video, I heard he... Ethan kept walking. Didn't stop. Didn't look. But he could feel it. Eyes following him. Not mocking this time. Not laughing. Watching. He sat down. Different table again. Not hiding. Just choosing space. A tray slid across from him. Ethan looked up. The girl. You're trending, she said quietly. Ethan frowned. What? She turned her phone. Showed him. The video. Not just on her phone anymore. Everywhere. Group chats. School pages. Comments building. The shove. The words. The threat. Clear. Undeniable. Ethan stared at the screen. That's fast, he said. She nodded. I didn't send it to everyone. A pause. But someone did. Ethan leaned back slightly. Because now, this wasn't controlled anymore. This was spreading. Fast. Across the room. The boys sat together. Not laughing. Not relaxed. Watching their own screen. One of them slammed his phone down. Who posted that? He snapped. I didn't. Another said, take it down. I can't. Their voices were sharper now, less confident, because for the first time, they weren't controlling the story. Ethan saw it. That shift, small, but real. You okay? The girl asked. Ethan nodded slowly. I think so. But his voice wasn't certain, because exposure didn't feel like safety. It felt like pressure. More eyes, more attention, more risk. Hey! A new voice. Ethan turned. A boy stood there. Different, not part of them. I saw the video, he said. Ethan didn't respond. That wasn't right. The boy added. A pause. Then, just thought you should know. He walked away. Simple, but it mattered, because it was the first time someone said something. Out loud. The girl smiled slightly. See, she said. Ethan nodded, but his eyes moved back across the room. To them, because something else was happening. The boys stood up, all at once, chairs scraping, conversation slowing. They started walking, not toward the exit, toward him. The room shifted. Again. They're not done, the girl whispered. I know. Ethan stayed seated, didn't move, didn't run, because this time, running wasn't an option. They stopped at the table. Close. Too close. You think this is funny? The first boy said. Ethan looked up. I didn't post it. Doesn't matter. Another snapped. You started it. Ethan's eyes narrowed slightly. I didn't start anything. A laugh. Sharp. You made it worse. A pause. You should have stayed quiet. There it was. The truth. Not about the situation. About control. Ethan leaned forward slightly. Why? The boy frowned. Why what? Why should I stay quiet? A beat. Because they didn't have a clean answer. Just power. Because it would have been easier, the boy said. For who? Ethan asked. Silence. The room was watching again. But different now. Not passive. Tense. Listening. The boy stepped closer. Lowered his voice. You think this helps you? Ethan didn't flinch. Yes. That answer landed. Hard. Because it wasn't loud. It wasn't emotional. It was certain. You're making a mistake, the boy said. Ethan shook his head. No. A pause. You are. The words flipped something. For the first time, the balance felt unstable. The boy's jaw tightened. But before he could respond, enough! A voice cut through the room. Principal Harris. Standing near the entrance. Not calm this time. Not neutral. Serious. You three, he said. Office. Now. The boys hesitated. Just for a second. Then they moved. Because now they didn't have control. Not here. Not anymore. Ethan watched them go. Didn't smile. Didn't react. Because he knew this wasn't over. The principal looked at Ethan. A pause. Then, stay. The word felt heavy. Not a request. A decision. The cafeteria emptied slowly. Eyes still on him. The girl stayed. Close. You good? She asked quietly. Ethan nodded. I think so. But his hands were still tight. Because exposure had changed everything. But it hadn't fixed anything. Not yet. Principal Harris walked closer, his expression unreadable. We need to talk, he said. Ethan stood, slow. About what? He asked. The principal paused, then said, This is bigger than you think. Ethan felt it, that shift again. Because now, this wasn't just about students. This was about the school, its reputation, its responsibility, its failure. And whatever came next was going to decide everything. The gym was already full. Rows of students. Teachers along the walls. Low noise. Controlled. Not normal. Ethan stood near the entrance. Didn't move. Everyone's here, the girl said beside him. He nodded. I can see that. But what he felt was different. Pressure. Like the whole room was waiting. For something. Or someone. Ethan. Principal Harris approached. Suit straight. Face serious. We're about to begin, he said. Ethan looked at him. Why am I here? The principal paused. Because this involves you. That wasn't a real answer. Ethan noticed. So does this involve them too? He asked. A beat. Yes. Not detailed. Not clear. Careful. Come, the principal said. They walked toward the front. Every step felt louder. Eyes followed. Not whispers now. Open attention. The boys sat near the front. Separate, not together anymore. That was new. They didn't look at Ethan, but their posture, tense, different. Principal Harris stepped onto the stage. The microphone screeched slightly. Then, silence. Last week, he began, an incident occurred between students. His voice echoed, carefully measured, an incident that does not reflect the values of the school. Ethan stood still, listening, but also watching, because words were easy, too easy. We take situations like this seriously, the principal continued. A pause, and we acknowledge that we could have handled it better. That landed, not loud, but real. Some teachers shifted, uncomfortable, because now it wasn't just about students. We are reviewing policies, he said. We are addressing behavior. Still vague, still safe. Then he stopped, looked out at the crowd, then down at Ethan. Sometimes, he said slowly, the most important voice is the one we don't hear soon enough. A pause. Ethan. The name echoed. Every head turned. Again, would you like to say something? The question landed heavy. Not expected. Not prepared. Ethan froze. The girl looked at him. You don't have to, she whispered. But the room was waiting, not forcing, but expecting. And that felt worse. Ethan swallowed. His hands felt cold. His chest tight. He could feel every eye, every moment, every word that led here. The milk, the locker, the pages, the shove, the silence, all of it, right here. You can just say no, the girl said softly. Ethan nodded slightly, but he didn't move because something inside him was pulling him forward. Not fear, not anymore, something else. He stepped forward, slow, careful, but steady, up the steps, onto the stage. The microphone stood in front of him, too big, too loud. Ethan looked out, at everyone, the same people, but different now, listening, really listening. He didn't speak right away, because this moment wasn't about rushing. It was about choosing. What if I say the wrong thing? He whispered. The principal leaned slightly closer. Say what's true. Ethan looked at him, then back at the crowd. A deep breath. His hand stopped shaking. Just enough. He leaned toward the microphone. The room went completely silent. And for the first time, Ethan wasn't being watched because of what was happening to him. He was being heard because of what he was about to say. Ethan stood at the microphone. The room was silent. Too silent. He could hear his own breathing. Slow. Careful. Every eye on him. Waiting. He looked down for a second. Then back up. I didn't want to be here. His voice was quiet, but clear. I didn't want to stand up here. A pause. I didn't even want people to notice me. Some students shifted, because that part felt true. I just wanted to go to school. Simple. No emotion in the words, but heavy, and be left alone. Silence deepened. Ethan glanced across the room, at the boys, then away, but that didn't happen. A breath. Every day. He stopped, just for a second, because saying it made it real again. They said things. Short, small things. A pause. But they weren't small. Heads lowered. Some. Not all. They laughed. Another pause. They took my stuff. His fingers tightened slightly. They told me I didn't belong here. The words echoed. Not loud, but sharp. Ethan swallowed, and no one said anything. That landed, harder than anything before, because it wasn't just about them. It was about everyone. I thought maybe, he hesitated, maybe I should just stay quiet. A glance toward the teachers, because that's easier. A beat for everyone else. Silence, heavy, but it wasn't easy for me. His voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. It just made it worse. The girl watched him, eyes steady, because when no one says anything, he looked around. Slow. It feels like they agree. A few students looked away, not out of guilt, out of recognition. Ethan stepped slightly closer to the mic. I'm not angry. That surprised the room. A shift. I was. A pause. But not anymore. Another shift. I just wanted to stop. Simple. Clear. No speech. No performance. Just truth. I want to feel like I belong here. A breath. Like everyone else. Silence stretched. Longer now. Because there was nothing to argue with. Nothing to twist. Just truth. Ethan looked down briefly. Then back up. And if someone sees something like this... A pause. Say something. His voice softened. Because it matters. He stepped back slightly. Like he was done. But then he stopped. Turned back. One more thing. The room held its breath. Ethan looked toward the boys again. Not angry. Not scared. Just steady. I didn't do anything to deserve this. A pause. And no one does. That was it. No dramatic ending. No raised voice. Just a final. Ethan stepped away from the microphone. The silence stayed. For a second. 2, 3. Then a sound. Not loud. One clap. From the back. Then another. Then more. It spread. Slow at first. Then stronger. Filling the room. Not forced. Not loud for attention. Real. Ethan stood still. Didn't smile. Didn't react. Because this wasn't victory. Not yet. The principal stepped forward. But even he paused, letting the moment sit. Because something had changed. Not just in Ethan. In the room. In the silence. In what people were willing to ignore. The applause faded slowly. But the feeling didn't. The girl stepped closer. You did it, she said softly. Ethan shook his head. No. A pause. I just said it. He looked out one more time. At the room. At the faces. At the people who saw. And the ones who didn't. Before. Because now they all had. And that meant something. Even if it wasn't everything. Yet, the next day, everything felt quieter. Not empty. Not normal. Different. Ethan walked through the hallway. No whispers this time. No laughter behind him. Just space. Real space. A few students nodded as he passed. Small. Subtle. But real. Ethan nodded back. Not smiling. But not shrinking either. At his locker, he paused. Opened it. Everything was still there. Untouched. For the first time, it felt like his. You okay? He turned. The girl. Same calm presence. Ethan nodded. Yeah. A pause. I think I am. She smiled slightly. That speech. Ethan shook his head. It wasn't a speech. It was enough, she said. Silence. Because they both knew it was more than enough. Footsteps approached. Principal Harris. Different posture today. Less distant. More direct. Ethan, he said. Ethan turned fully. Yes. We've taken action, the principal said. A pause. The students involved had been suspended. Ethan didn't react. Not surprised. Not relieved. Just listening. There will also be further review, he added. District level. Bigger now. More serious. The girl glanced at Ethan. But Ethan stayed still. And the officer, he asked. The principal hesitated. Just for a second. That's being looked into as well. Careful words. But different. Because now it couldn't be ignored. Your video helped, the principal added. He looked at the girl. She nodded slightly. Then he looked back at Ethan. And your words. A pause. They mattered. Ethan held his gaze. Then make sure something changes, he said. Not disrespectful. Not aggressive. Clear. The principal nodded slowly. We will. This time, it sounded less like a promise. More like pressure. Because now, people were watching. The principal walked away. Silence settled again. But not heavy. Steady. Do you believe him? The girl asked. Ethan thought for a moment. Then, I think he believes it now. A pause. Before, he didn't finish. Because he didn't need to. They both understood. At lunch, Ethan didn't sit alone. He didn't choose a corner. He didn't hide. He sat in the middle. Not for attention. Just because he could. A few students joined. Slowly. Carefully. Not forced. Not awkward. Normal. Or at least, closer to it. You mind if I sit here? Someone asked. Ethan shook his head. No. The seat filled. Then another. The space changed. Not loud, but open, and that mattered. Across the room, the table where the boys used to sit was empty. That said more than anything else. After school, Ethan walked out. Same gate, same street, but different feeling. The air didn't feel tight anymore. It felt lighter. Not perfect, but lighter. You coming tomorrow? The girl asked. Ethan looked at her. Yeah. A pause. I think I want to. She smiled. Good. They stood there for a moment. No rush. No pressure. Just quiet. Real quiet. You know, she said, you changed something. Ethan shook his head. No. A pause. I just didn't stay quiet. He looked down the street, then back at the school, and that changed everything. That night, Ethan opened his notebook. The same one. Pages still missing. Edges still rough. But it didn't feel broken anymore. He picked up a pen, paused, then started writing. Not about what happened, about what it meant. Because some things don't end when they're over. They stay, in small ways, quiet ways. But so does something else. Strength. The kind you don't notice at first. The kind that grows. When you decide not to stay silent. Weeks later, the school changed. New rules. Stronger policies. More eyes paying attention. Teachers speaking up faster. Students too. Not perfect, but better. And that mattered. Because change doesn't start loud. It starts like this. One voice. One moment. One decision. To be heard. Ethan walked through the hallway again. Same place. Same walls. But not the same boy. Not anymore. And this time, he didn't try to disappear.